Most of the Canon EOS R1 specifications have already leaked out. We even have images, detailed photos taken of the camera at the Monaco Grand Prix. But one more piece of information has come from overseas, from the Weibo account E8M8888. This time around, telling us that the Canon EOS R1 can do pixel shift at 96 megapixels in 14-bit RAW. Now, if this source sounds familiar, well, that's because we get most of our camera registrations from E8M8888, and they turn out to be correct, although they didn't quite catch the camera registration 126925, which is the registration number we see for the Canon EOS R1 in these detailed leaked specifications, the one with serial number 31. But that being aside, E8M8888 does have a very good track record when it comes to camera registrations. But when it comes to specifications, well, it's a different story. You'll recall these specifications that we got stating that the Canon EOS R1 would be a 30 megapixel sensor capable of 120 frames per second continuous shooting, full sensor readout, and 240 frames per second for a 1 second burst. Those turned out to be incorrect, and they were certainly followed up by Adorama. Remember, we had that leak. It was borrowing the same information. Well, with all the leak specifications we've gotten over the past weekend and the validation, we know those to be incorrect. So the information that E8M8888 has leaked out today, could that be correct? Well, it's certainly plausible. I mean, the Canon EOS R5 got pixel shift in a firmware update. And with a 24 megapixel sensor, multiplying that by 4 gives us 96. So it's certainly plausible. In fact, I'd be surprised if Canon released the R1 without the pixel shift technology in it. So exciting, right? Well, not necessarily. It depends on how Canon goes about implementing pixel shift. If they do implement it in the R1, it will be 96 megapixels. But will it be as good as what they put out, well, Sony put out in the A7R5, where you can take incredible shots even with moving subjects or objects, as is shown here with this vehicle. Look at this. The degree of blur, well, don't really notice any unless, of course, you pixel peep. And this, in contrast to the Canon EOS R5, the Mark I, well, I tested it out and I found that the detail is very good as long as nothing's moving. Any sort of movement by leaves, grass, or anything else, and it creates unusable blur. You're better off taking photos without pixel shift. But for food and product photography where nothing's moving, yeah, it's good. And that's where I hope the Canon EOS R1 is able to deliver something a little bit better. I'm not saying that E8M8888 has it correct with 96 megapixels pixel shift shooting 14-bit RAW. I'm just saying that it's certainly plausible. And the R5, well, it got to do it in JPEG and not RAW, so this would be a really big deal. But now I want to turn our attention to the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. We reported back in February that the EOS R5 Mark II would be announced in late April or early May. However, Canon rumors went further, saying that announcements can sometimes be moving targets until everything is ready to go. And that was April the 1st, and Canon rumors did update things, saying that by the end of May, guaranteed something is going to happen. We're going to get some sort of announcement. Well, last week we got the development announcement of the Canon EOS R1, and that was April the 1st. And no, that wasn't some sort of April Fool's post. Canon rumors did put out other stories saying that, look, before the end of May, we're going to get something on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. Well, here we are in the last week of May. June the 1st is on Saturday. So we have 3 solid days ahead of us, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that if we're going to get some sort of announcement on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, it's going to be on those days. But my sources aren't telling me anything. All the trusted, reliable sources are silent on anything like this. And I checked with them this morning and nothing. And the source that provided me with the information about the Canon EOS R1 development announcement long before anybody else, well, that source hasn't told me anything. So, what's going on, you might be asking? Are we going to get any sort of announcement of the Canon EOS R5 Mark II? Well, as I said in previous posts, again from a very reliable source, the one that told me about the R1 development announcement, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II is going to be announced in July, and many other sources are coming around and stating that July is now the announcement timeframe. Not citing me, of course, but that's just how this goes. And even Canon Rumors is coming around to a possible July announcement. Although in a recent post, they're indicating that maybe, just maybe, something could be happening this week. we have reported or heard of 2 announcement dates this month that did come to fruition. We got the Canon EOS R1 on May the 15th, and May the 21st was an announcement of that golf thing, and we didn't even know that was coming. The third date, we have been told, will occur next week. We have not confirmed this 100% at the time of writing, so we'll see on this one. Well, a bit of a correction to Canon rumors saying that they didn't know about the May 21st and May the 15th dates. Well, you'll recall that I did. I came out with that development announcement for the Canon EOS R1, not on May the 15th like everybody else did, but telling everybody about it midday on May the 14th. And then May the 21st, I talked about that in a previous video where I talked about 2 Canon Slovenia events that were coming up, and then potentially these could be indications that Canon Global might be doing something. And of course they did with the May the 15th, but not with the golf thing. So now with Canon rumors saying that we might be getting something this week on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, well, it's certainly plausible. And they didn't mention those dates, but that's what I'm inferring, because we don't get announcements on a Monday, we don't get it on a Friday, and once we hit Saturday, we're into June. So what am I getting at with all this? Pay attention, because if Canon rumors is correct, and they've been on this for some time, telling us that dates, they know about these dates, that they're credible, that we're going to be getting something by the end of April, then by the end of May. I believe my source that we're going to get the announcement of the R5 Mark II in July. But what I believe Canon could likely do this week or in the upcoming weeks before we get that full-blown announcement in July is give us some sort of development announcement, because like the R1, information is leaking out like crazy, and what Canon likes to do when that starts to happen is they want to get out in front of it and let us know. We saw this with the Mark I back in February of 2020. We got those detail leak specifications from Canon rumors, and then within a couple of days to a couple of weeks, Canon rumors came out with a development announcement for that camera, giving us detailed specifications that we didn't have before. So will we see that this week? Well, we just have to stay tuned for that. And all I can suggest is go ahead and subscribe, choose all notifications, and follow me on X, because as soon as I know, I'm going to guarantee you I'm going to put out a video. And I'm really excited towards that, because I'm definitely looking at a new camera. Having a stack sensor on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II is really exciting. More detailed video, faster frame rates, being able to shoot up to 30 frames per second mechanical. I'm really looking forward to what this camera can do, especially with low light performance and shooting in high ISO. You know what? Here's what I think could be happening with the R5 Mark II. And it all goes back to those stories about the Canon EOS R1 being the master of everything, the jack of all trades, and with the R1 doing 24 megapixels and being squarely aimed at sports and fast action photographers. I really think that it's going to be the R5 Mark II to hold up that banner of being the master of everything, the jack of all trades. And if we look at what's on the marketplace right now, it wouldn't take an awful lot to take the R5 Mark II and make it the master of everything, the jack of all trades. Because the only cameras out there that are able to do better than it can do today, the Nikon Z8 and the Nikon Z9. And the Nikon Z9 has been out for almost 3 years now, and the Nikon Z8, well, it's just been a year, but it takes most of those same capabilities of the Z9. So for Canon to release the R5 Mark II with better specifications than the Z8 and Z9 isn't that much of a stretch. And maybe instead of the R1 being the master of everything and the jack of all trades, perhaps it will be the R5 Mark II. However, this is all conjecture at this point. The one thing we know for sure is that right now we have the Canon EOS R5 Mark I, and it's on sale for $28.99 at Adorama, B&H, Amazon.com, and everywhere else in the United States. And I think that's a terrific price. And one thing I would like you to consider here, if you're really hyped up over the R5 Mark II and you don't have the R5, or even if you do have the R5, maybe consider what value you bring to your clients or to yourself, what you want to see in a camera. And then what you can probably do is compare the R5 Mark I to the R5 Mark II and ask yourself, do you really need to get the R5 Mark II? Are you perfectly happy with your R5 Mark I? Is it giving you all the value that you need out of your business? And if the answer is no, well, then maybe consider getting the R5 Mark II. And if you don't have the R5 Mark I, but it delivers everything you need, well, how about $1,100 off? Because the R5 Mark II is going to sell for $39.99. And right now, today, we have the R5 Mark I at $28.99. And I think that's a phenomenal deal. And if you do happen to purchase the R5 Mark I using my affiliate links in the description down below, these guys right here, I do get a small commission back. So, and I think it's anywhere between 3 and 12%, depending on what product you pick up, depending on which retailer you're picking up from. And that goes right back to supporting this channel. You don't have to click on any other links. You don't have to put in special codes. You don't have to fill out any special forms. Just add it to your cart and check out. And you get great deals and savings. And of course, I get the benefit of getting a small commission back from those retailers. You don't pay anything extra by doing this. And not just the Canon EOS R5, we see the competition, the Nikon Z8, we see tons of cameras. I've got about 20 links in the description down below from Panasonic, Canon, Nikon, and Sony. Everything being on sale at huge discounts right now. Now's the time to buy a camera. If you don't need the latest and the greatest, we're seeing the best deals that we've ever seen on Canon cameras, on Nikon cameras, Sony cameras. Really incredible deals, and not just on camera bodies, but lenses and accessories. So give it a look, and at least be honest with yourself, because I know there's this FOMO going around, the fear of missing out and new shiny objects, and the R5 Mark II is going to be a new shiny object, and I need a second camera, and I'm going to get that. It seems like I'm going against my own advice, but the reason why I'm doing that is I have this channel. I can't just talk about the R5 Mark II. I need to have it in my hand so I can tell you what it's like to experience that camera. Just like I can tell you what it's like to experience the Canon EOS R5, the Mark I. I've had it for 4 years. I had it a week before it actually started shipping. So I know what it's like to live with the camera day in and day out. But that's it for now. If you want to stay up to date on the latest and greatest, don't forget to subscribe and choose all notifications and follow me on X. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Oh, and if you're in the United States, have yourself a happy Memorial Day. Enjoy your day off, and hopefully you get some nice weather. Cheers. Bye-bye now.